What are the do's and don'ts of writing an essay? I'm Dr. David Mastek. I created reciprocity.com, an editing platform where you can go and get your work edited by somebody else, or you can edit somebody else's work. So you can think of it as sharing economy platform for editing. So I wanted to go through the do's and don'ts today of writing an essay. So I actually had a writer draft this up for me because they are much better than I am. That's one of the principles that I rely on. So one of the reasons why I actually created the platform is because there's so many more people that are so much more better than I am in terms of editing as well as writing. So I wanted to go through, first of all, the do's of writing. The first one that you should be doing and thinking about when you're writing an essay, particularly to those that are college or university students, is make yourself comfortable. Find a nice area for you to sit down and actually start to think and write about stuff, right? So that's really important. Doesn't matter where it is. Usually it has to be somewhat quiet, whether it's in a coffee shop or whether it's in your home at a comfy chair or just wherever. I used to study all the time in a library, and I used to do a lot of writing in a library. Now I have my own office. The next one is, number 2, is finding the proper documentation. So gathering all of the material you need to actually write the essay. So the way that I actually do in terms of my own research articles, what I do is I will read through other people's articles and kind of summarize them as I go through. And I can use those summaries later on as I start building them into the written material. I often actually do it at the same time. So I'll summarize, create a couple of summaries of 3 or 4 different other papers, and then start blending them into my own work. So that actually works really, really well for me. Number 3, make sure that you are focusing on making this look very proper and professional, the document that you're working on. So just avoid all those silly fonts and stuff that just doesn't make any sense, particularly if you're sending it in for a university or college essay. So I'm a university professor, and this drives me bananas when I see things that just don't look professional, right? So the crazy fonts and things. So just what my rule of thumb and what I tell everybody else, just do really basic stuff. So make sure that you have 12-point font, Times New Roman, things that are really, really basic. There's Garamond is a good one as well. That's easy to read, but just something that's very basic and simple, and that will make your writing stand out so much more compared to what everybody else does, because they do a lot of this fancy stuff and it doesn't add a lot of value. The other one, so number 4, that's number 4, is make sure that you do citations properly and have a bibliography and put those in, or a reference list, for example, and put those in. That's really incredibly important. Make sure that you have those citations done properly. It's one of the biggest pet peeves of anybody that marks material, marks essays. I myself, when I go through, I usually do catch a lot of stuff that other people are not citing. So when in doubt, when you're looking at somebody else's work, if it's more than probably about 3 words of somebody else's work in a row, even 2 words of somebody else's work in a row, although it gets a little bit tricky there, just make sure you cite it. Make sure that you are citing it, or if it's a general idea, you can cite that as well. So it's really incredibly important. So if you're extracting 2 or 3 words in a row from somebody else, put it in quotes and cite that material. That's all there is to it. It's too easy for professors like myself to use turnitin.com. I just make sure that all the students actually go through turnitin.com, and a lot of people actually do that. It's a great, wonderful product that I highly recommend. So in terms of the don'ts of writing an essay, I think this is, some of this stuff is really important as well. And this goes on to the idea I was just talking about. Is the first one is plagiarizing. Make sure that you are not plagiarizing somebody's work. Doesn't matter if you are doing a college essay or high school essay. You're writing written work. You're a comedian, for example, and you're writing jokes. just be very careful and cognizant that you are not taking other people's ideas. It is good to build on the general, general universe of ideas that are out there, which is great. That's what we want to encourage, is for you to build on other people's ideas as much as possible. But you have to cite those ideas, or you craft your own argument. So what you're doing is grabbing other people's ideas and crafting it into your own argument that makes a lot of sense. It is way too easy, and I catch people all the time on this, just to go onto Wikipedia and get somebody else's work and put it on there. Way too easy for me to catch this stuff. Usually it comes across as completely different work, a different idea, or for the level of skill that the person's at, or the amount of work that's been put into it, usually just comes across as just either too advanced or too not advanced enough. So you just have to be very careful that you're not plagiarizing. The second thing that you should do when you're writing an essay that's really incredibly important is make sure you don't procrastinate. Just start as early as possible. So if you get an assignment that is due in 3 months or something along those lines, just start working at it. The easiest thing, this is what I do, is I write maybe 100 words at a time. That's all it takes, is just a couple of words at a time, and pretty soon, it doesn't take very long before you have an entire essay. It's really incredibly easy to write something, then just sit down and actually do it incrementally over time. And you eventually build and build and build. It's just like building. If you look at all these YouTube videos I have, they're not necessarily all that long, but there is a lot of them, and as you start building them, they get more and more, there's more and more content there, more and more material, and that's what you have to do as a writer, just incrementally build things as you go. The third thing that you should be doing, or that you should not be doing, is make sure that you want to ask for help. So one of the worst things that you could do is just not asking for help when you need it. Just go and ask somebody for help, get some feedback. That's really incredibly important. That's why I built reciprocity.com. You can get some feedback whenever you need it on the material that you have. But just ask for help, look around, because often other people will see things. It's really difficult for you to write something perfectly the first time, and you need help. You need this feedback to come back to you and to give you new ideas, new fresh look at this kind of thing. That's actually how science works, for example. So that's why one of the reasons why I created reciprocity.com was to help my own self out, because there's so much of this sort of feedback, peer revision that you get before you actually write a scientific article, as you're writing the scientific article. And that's just part of being a writer. It's part of, it doesn't matter what area you're in. It's just part of it. If you're a comedian, for example, you go up on the stage and you tell those jokes and you will bomb, and then you'll get some more feedback from that. And that's really important. That sort of audience feedback is really important, feeding and creating these new and better ideas. You should also, so number 4, the one thing that you should not be doing is not referring enough to using the dictionary. So you want to make sure that you're constantly using a dictionary or a thesaurus whenever you have a new idea, a new thought. Just go to it and take a look and use a dictionary. I use dictionary.com. I use thesaurus.com. It's the easiest thing. Just Google it, and you'll pop up with new different words. Often that there's a word on the tip of my tongue and I just can't quite do it. Easiest thing is just type it into the computer and see what it has to say on dictionary.com or thesaurus.com. Great websites, by the way. The 5th thing that you should not be doing is just being indirect when you write something. So I see this actually a fair bit, and this has a consequence of just not having your own idea. Is what you're doing is you're grabbing other people's ideas. One of my senior advisors, or one of my advisors for my own research that I talk to on a regular basis, and he used to point out that I was getting pushed around by the theory. So what does that mean? Well, I was grabbing other people's ideas and not having my own voice. What you have to do is grab your own voice and have your own voice when you're writing your stuff. And then you'll get much more direct. You'll actually have a much more systematic way. And actually that takes a lot of revising, a lot of feedback, a lot of work, that you actually start getting your voice in what you're saying. So that's why it's incredibly important to get this feedback, particularly from something like reciprocity.com. If there's something else out there, let me know. So with that, I thought this was really good and very helpful for myself to go through and make these points. Hopefully they're helpful for you. If you like these videos, you think that this is a great idea, reciprocity.com is a great idea. Once again, reciprocity is spelled with a 3. The E is a 3. And if you think any of this stuff is a good idea, please do help out. Just like the video, go on and subscribe if you want to get more stuff like this, or you can check out reciprocity.com. With that, have a good day. Bye.